Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of Pretty Moody Mondays. Today, we have the honor to bring to the Pretty Moody Monday platform Dr. Angela Grayson. Hello, Dr. Grayson. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you, Cheryl, first of all, because we've been, you know, playing tag. So this is awesome to connect on such an important topic. So I'm happy to be here with you and your audience.
Oh my gosh, I am equally honored to have you here and a part of the Pretty Moody platform. Can you tell our wonderful pretties a little bit about yourself, please?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I'm Angela, Dr. Grayson, and I used to have a private practice, private psychotherapy practice on Silverside Road in Wilmington. Right now, I'm completely virtual, and I've significantly downsized my practice. And that is because number one, I've been in mental health for over 30 years. And
Wow.
yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of people over the years. I loved every minute of it. But with, the onset of menopause and just getting up in age, I wanted to add an element of fun to my business. And so now I've primarily focused on hosting and facilitating women's retreats. And the retreats primarily focus on women's relationships, and we get into conversations like menopause and emptiness syndrome and taking care of aging parents, so like all the things. And it's called the Girlfriend Retreat Experience. So I'm excited that that is the shift that my business has taken. I'm also a professor, so I'm teaching. School starts this week, so I'm excited to be back with the students and just keeping my finger on the pulse of what's happening in mental health. Like I said, it is a passion and I love, and that's one side of my passion and love. The other side is that I'm also a board certified dance movement therapist. So I've been
Yes.
able to marry my passion for psychology and dance into a profession, which is totally like who I am as a person in my lifestyle, because I
Wow.
wholeheartedly believe that every time we encounter somebody, there's a dance that happens, right? And it's spiritual. And so our spirits engage and dance with one another. And so dance movement therapy and psychology was the perfect niche for me in terms of career and lifestyle. And even just meeting you, I'm like, our spirits are like dancing and rejoicing right now because
Yes.
we're having this great conversation.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's pretty much who I am and what I'm up to nowadays.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. That is so, oh my goodness. First of all, over 30 years in the mental health realm is, I mean, kudos to you. Thank you. And I mean, a huge congratulations for making it through all of that time and being such a pivotal um person in the realm of mental health. Like it is, I tell people all the time, just like we have to take care of our cars and get oil changes and maintenance, appliances and things like that, we have to do the same thing for our mental health. So I
Mhm.
love being able to take up space with women like yourself that, have been making such a great impact, in that mental health arena. And especially now, like you said, being in menopause.
Right.
It takes on like a whole nother, a whole nother, I don't want to say beast, but yeah, beast. It's a beast. Some days.
That's right. Some days it depends on what part of the cycle you're in.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes. So again, thank you, for just sharing your expertise with us. And I am so looking forward to doing this dance with you. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, like how does that work? Like dance and psychology. How did you bring that together? And what does that look like? Can you tell us a little bit more about that before we get into the topic that we're going to unpack tonight?
Like, thanks for asking. So I actually am not one of these people who grew up dancing, like taking dance classes. My first formal dance class was in undergrad at University of Delaware. And then I got a job with the state. And, as a state employee, it's like mandatory continuing education workshops that we have to take. And one of the summer institutes they used to have in the summer for folks to get their continuing education, I saw a dance movement therapist doing a workshop, and I was like, "Stop it. That's such a thing. Like, that's like a real career and profession."
Wow.
And the person was like, "Absolutely." And then I went to Drexel University. I was like, "You better stop playing with me." That's
What?
like right up the street. So I got home, I'm researching, I'm looking online. I'm like, that's it. I found it. And
Wow.
what dance movement therapy is, it's like the integration of mind, body, spirit, right? And how we interact with other people through movement. And I like to say movement is our first language, right? When we were in our mother's wombs, that's how she knew what was happening with us, whether we were hungry or whether we shifted position or, we were playful or anxious or just, just moving around. And so
Yes.
to use movement as a form of healing is also indigenous to African people. So definitely looking at the roots of, the healing practices of dance and the therapeutic implications of dance and how we don't really utilize it in that way in Western culture, but in all other cultures, they still use movement to, for celebration, for, warfare, for, a lot of different ceremonial rituals that are important to building community. And so dance
Yes.
movement therapy is a way that I, honor my ancestral
Wow.
heritage. And
That is so
yeah,
beautiful.
so it was exciting for me to stumble on it. And like I said, and I've been a dance movement therapist for 20 years. So
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I mean, first of all, when I think about just when you hear just dance and the movement, and
hmm
first of all, we are happy all the time when we're dancing. I've never seen people dancing and they're mad or upset.
right, right.
So when you're just bridging that gap with the connections and I just would have never imagined, but it makes total sense that it could be, completely therapeutic. How does it
hmm
help, the psyche when you're, using that for therapy? And when would you prescribe that type of therapy for, sorry, losing my headphones, for someone?
Yeah, so dance movement therapy, the greatest benefit of implementing dance movement therapy as not only a tool and a technique, but as therapy is when people don't have words for what's really happening in their life. You know how sometimes you go through something and you just don't have words for it, but your body knows what the story is, right? Because our
Yes,
bodies hold stories and trauma and messages. And so being able to move it out gives the release that your body needs, which then impacts your mind and frees up the space. So whether you never put words to it, you still have opportunity to, release that from your body. So it's not living somewhere and then it gets triggered and then it pops out right at the most inopportune time.
yes,
So
yes,
yeah, so yeah, dance is it's like an athlete that trains, right? You're thinking about the physical movement and exertion of energy. And so whether it's really, kicking into the adrenaline of it or sinking down into, okay, I need to get focused. I need to really think about, how many reps I need to do of this or that. So the same way that an athlete would train using, different types of weights, movement, running, cardio, whatever, dance movement therapy really hones in on the mechanics of the body and the mind connection because our body gets the message first actually before our mind does. Most people
mm,
think we go from the top down. It's really from the bottom up.
right, wow.
So you're going to feel it somewhere in your body first, and then your mind is going to make the connection and search for, okay, what is the connection to this thing that's going on in my body, and try to find a word for it or a story for it to, put it together. And sometimes it's not there. And so dance movement therapy is still a way to kind of tell that story. So think about a time where you've gone to witness a dance, right? Not that you were the person that was actually dancing, but you went to a show and you saw people dancing and it may have brought you to tears or may have, erupted some
That
laughter or just
emotion,
made you
yes,
think about something. And so dance
yes.
movement therapy brings up that emotional connection of the mind body.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful, like, simply beautiful. I find too, being in, menopause now, I'm always looking for different ways to have releases. you know?
Mhm.
So, in different therapeutic ways that are, not just going to, oh, you want to go take some medicine or, and I mean, because let's face it,
Yeah.
medicine is here. It's here to stay.
Right.
It looks like,
Right.
and it seems like it's the first thing that, we're given as options to be better, so to speak. But when you're thinking of total well-being, you want to have
Yes.
little things in your toolbox that
Right.
you can say, okay, for this, I might want to go and do some movement therapy, or I might want to do some breath work, or yoga
Right.
or whatever. So I love, 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 love. This is not the end we're going to hear of that. We're going to have to do something with that.
Right, and I roll my eyes when you say medication because you're right, like, that's like the first resolve that, most physicians give is, "Oh, what are your symptoms? Okay, take this medication," and they're writing it before they even finish listening to whatever your story is or why you're there, what the symptoms are. It's like, "No, can we really
That's
talk
right.
about what's going on and be more proactive about it?" And then, I mean, medication has its place, but for me as
Exactly.
a therapist, that's like a last resort. I wanna know, what are the symptoms? How long have you been experiencing them? What changes in your diet can we make? What changes in your sleep habits can we make? Or like I'm looking at the holistic process first. And if none of those things are helping, then I'm like, okay, so maybe we might start with a mild something. And then if we need to, change it, then we can talk to your doctor to change it. I can't prescribe anything, but I can recommend, right?
Right.
so
Right.
so
Right.
so
I
that's
love
the
it.
approach that I take.
Yes, I love that approach. I love that approach. And I think a lot of us are seeking that approach now, so more days than ever. And not to say, like you said, medicine has its place, but we have other options.
Yes.
So let's segue right into our topic for tonight. I'm sure you have women that you serve that come to see you that are in menopause
Mhm.
and they are like, oh my goodness, what is going on with my mind? I can't think straight. I can't
Mhm.
remember anything. I'm forgetting this. I'm just all over the place. Trying to compartmentalize things on a regular basis is not the same. I always say now, my capacity is changed. It's not what it used to be before menopause, right? So, this thing that we're speaking of is brain fog. And tonight we're going to unpack how brain fog affects us and our cognitive um, makeup wiring that's happening up here. How is disrupted in menopause as it pertains to brain fog? So I am on the edge of my chair ready to hear you unpack this and also how you um teach other women how to deal with this in menopause. So can you just come right on in and start jumping into this whole brain fog thing in menopause? How do you perceive it, and how do you handle it when we're
Yes,
begging
great
for help?
question. Yes, yes. Let's jump into that, right? Like I said, people only know the handful of symptoms, but brain fog is probably one of the most deceptive of the symptoms because it could be, caused by other things. And so if you're going to your doctor saying, "Oh, I'm having trouble remembering things," the first thing that's, "Oh, it's probably just age. You're getting up in age, and sometimes our memory is not the same." So they chalk it off immediately, right? But we know it's like soon as you cross the 50-year threshold, like all the bottom falls out, right? So you're getting all of these different symptoms that you didn't have in your 40s, unless you started menopause early,
Yeah.
right? Because there are those of us who start menopause very, very early. Perimenopause lasts for 10 years, menopause lasts for another 10, and post can last for another 10. So we're talking 30 years with this whole process.
Oh,
So when we talk about brain fog and mental capacity, that's a serious thing. And I have women in my office in tears about not being able to remember things and like forgetting where they put their keys or, forgetting what they're going to the store for, leaving one room and going to another. I was like, I came in here for something, but I don't remember what it was. Right.
Exactly.
And then they go back out hoping that they'll remember if they go back into the room. It's like sometimes it works,
To tell
sometimes
the
it
whole
doesn't.
story to myself all over again. Okay, you came downstairs, you walked in the room, you turned around, still don't remember.
Right, right. And then like later on that night, you're like, oh yeah, okay, now I remember what it was.
Exactly.
And so dealing with brain fog, first of all, recognizing that it is a symptom of menopause. It's like one of the first things. And that it's okay not to remember. And because there are some tools, techniques, technology is great for, dealing with brain fog. Obviously, everybody has a calendar on their phone. Some people are list people. I know some of my clients, they still have like the old school calendar or the old school planner. So they write everything down on their planner and they carry a little pocket planner in their purse. Right? Listen, I'm laughing because I'm the person that has the Google Calendar and my Google Calendar is color coded. And
Oh
honey,
my
let
God,
me tell you, if it's not on my calendar, it's not
it
happening.
ain't happening. It's not even a
It
part of life.
is not
And I'm saying
happening.
it because I'm the one who has the phone calendar, the Google Calendar, the
Mhm.
iCloud, and I got the little book still because I have to have reinforcements. It's
Right.
because I might forget to put it here, but then it's
Right.
here, or yeah, and sometimes it just doesn't make it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I don't know."
Yeah. So what I tell women all the time is like, give yourself some grace. Some things you may be able to remember, and that's great. The things that you can't remember, give yourself some grace and just kind of slow down, breathe. If you forget something, it's not the end of the world. Um, if
Yeah,
it's an appointment or something like that, obviously you're going to have to apologize and reschedule or something. But, you know, once we get into the habit and the culture of sharing our experience and it becomes the norm, then it's easier to say, you know what, I had a brain fog moment, and it just completely slipped my mind, and I'm really sorry, and move on. I think the hardest thing for a lot of women is like dealing with other people's reaction to when they have brain fog moments, right?
that's
So it's
huge.
not, yeah. So it's like we're already embarrassed about it, but then the reaction of other people makes it worse because now it's like a reminder of, okay, we're going through the change of life, as our parents might have called it, or our grandparents might have called it.
Yep,
Um, and it's the constant reminder that you're different,
yep. And having
right?
to admit it over and
Yeah,
over and over again.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is, and I find a lot of the women that I talk to, Imma touch on a couple things because your points were amazing. Um, they are, especially women in corporate, they have a really tough
Hmm.
time. You have women that are holding a lot of responsibility, I'm sure like yourself. And when you're trying to juggle all the things and keep all the balls in the air, it becomes merely impossible.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's enough to just wake up and try to keep yourself together, to get to the
Right,
of the day.
right.
So when you start talking about, now I'm at work and I have these big projects or these meetings and I can't show up, like I usually show up. It's a bit degrading to us as women again because we're
Hmm.
so used to being on top of everything.
Right.
And I definitely know it was a lot to handle and a lot to wrap my head around because I heard about it a little bit. I read about the brain fog and the forgetfulness but when it happens,
Oh yeah.
total different ball game because you are like, holy crap, like, okay, I really don't remember. And I don't care
Right.
how much you're sitting there trying to make yourself remember, it's gone. It's
Right.
gone. What
Yeah.
do you tell the women that are, experiencing that part of trying to have those careers, those high volume careers,
Mhm.
and they just can't hold it all together? Like, what is like some of the things that they need to do or can do to help them?
One of the major things they can do, if possible, is to delegate. Like, don't have as much on your plate because we try to, like you said, we try to do all the things and we wear all the hats and we're on all the committees, all the boards. Like we're the
Yeah.
project manager of everything. But but if we can delegate a lot of those things to other folks, then that will ease up some of the pressure. Because I tell people, look at your team, especially women in corporate. Look at your team and really do a strengths analysis of your team. Like, whose strong suit is it to organize and plan? Whose strong suit is it to, you know, handle grabs or creating content? Like, look at who's around you who can take some of this off of your plate so that you can focus on whatever it is your actual strength is. Because that's the other thing about working in corporate is they're not thinking about working from a strengths-based model. They're thinking about working from this work needs to get done and I don't care who does it.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
But if we
Uh,
can work smarter and work from a strengths-based perspective of, who's really good at this particular task, let me delegate this part of the project to them. And I
Yeah,
can just check in with them, get a report. I don't need to be the one that does it. I can just get a report. So then when I write my comprehensive report, I get all the pieces from the team who's great at each piece and we present a united front because the work is still getting done. It just doesn't have to be done by me.
that's right. That's right. Yes. Synergy. The whole is always greater than the sum of its parts, right? Love it.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's so good because we are, again, we're so, like you said, we on everything. We want to control everything. We know we got it. We got it. I got it all day long. You too. Used to though, because
Right.
I learned that. I had to, and I haven't gotten it down 1000%, but I'm still learning that, it's okay to say
Mhm.
yes to help and to need help.
Right.
And that was tough for me. I have to say that that was like really tough. Number one, I'm always like, are they going to do the job the way that I'm going to do the job? Again, how we
That's it right
you know,
there. That's it,
not that we're
right?
in control, we're
They
trying to
can't do it
control
like I
everything.
can do
We're
it.
trying to control everything. It's like, but are they going to clean it the way I'm going to clean
Right.
it?
Right.
But, I have gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? No, I need help.
Mhm.
Like, and so important to call on the people and let them shine in their respective strengths.
Yeah.
Like, I am so for that. Like, now I'm like, okay, what are you good at? It can be you are busting out you folding them creases in them napkins,
Right.
whatever it is. We want to count on you for that because that's one less thing that now I have to worry about.
Exactly.
Because you feel like, I know for me, I felt like at some of the times, like, I didn't have control, like, of whatever the situation was, whatever the thing was that I forgot. If you're working on something, then it's important, whatever it is. If you forget something,
Mhm.
you feel horrible because you just feel like you're not in control.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing, like, my capacity is just not the same anymore, and it's okay. I'm
And it's
okay.
okay. Right.
It's okay,
And
but it was
that's where giving yourself some grace comes in and saying,
yes,
it's okay that I'm not working at the same capacity that I was working at before. First of all, it's exhausting now because I don't know about you, but I get tired a whole lot faster than I used to. And I'm
oh
like, you
my
know
goodness.
what? I'm over it. I'm going to
Yep,
bed. It's a
exactly.
wrap.
So knowing when to shut down too and cut it off. Cause
Right.
yeah, because I think before, and not to say that I don't push myself at times because I do, but nowhere near like what I used to. I'll be like, sis, she done.
Yes.
Pull the plugs, cut the lights. We're done.
Right. Which is great for brain fog, right? Because we know that our brain replenishes when we rest, like really rest and
Yeah,
not just lay down, for a few hours if, you are one of the people whose sleep pattern is interrupted due to menopause, and that's going to be challenging. But trying
Yeah.
to get quality rest will help with the brain fog as well.
Yes. That's so good. That's so good. When is it that a woman that is going through menopause, when is it that she should say, okay, you know what, this is a little bit more than I can handle and deal with right now? Like, at what point should she be looking to come and speak to you?
When it's happening, like if we're sticking with the brain fog symptom in particular, when
Yeah.
it's happening on a more consistent basis, like every day, it's like something that's going on that's disturbing, that's disturbing her. It's like, okay, this is really overwhelming, and I'm really, not myself. Like we know when we're not ourselves. We know when we're off our game, and it's like something's not quite right. I know I'm changing, and different symptoms are coming up. But when it's persistent, like every day, every other day, like 4 days out of 5 day work week, then it's time to have a conversation. Okay, let's look at, what's going on. I want to know things like, you know, what's on your plate. And I might have them actually draw on a piece of paper, like draw the circle of the plate, like, what's on here, what
Yes.
actually belongs to you, right? Because
Right.
you know how we are, what
Oh,
belongs to you, and
that
what do we
part
need
right
to give
there.
back to somebody else that belongs
Yes.
to them.
Wow,
So,
that's yes, that is very important right there because we really don't look at that. And it's funny because when you said that, I wasn't even thinking like I'm just thinking of all the things, but not
mhm,
what actually belongs to me. Um,
yeah.
and earlier you had said something about how the symptoms can be little blurry with menopause because they mimic a lot
Mhm.
of other illnesses, diseases, and we're often getting misdiagnosed
Yes.
menopause because of those things. So with brain fog and how it pertains to our mental health, what are some of like the key things that show up for us where we could say, okay, you know what, this is what this is, and it's not something else.
Yeah, so the main factor is to rule out other possible disorders or diseases. For example, I have some women who have gone through breast cancer, and part of having chemotherapy, and one of the symptoms, side effects, whatever you want to, call it, is brain fog just
Mhm.
from the chemotherapy. So that's also something to factor in. Some women that I see have autoimmune disorders or diseases, and brain fog is also a symptom of that. So if we can rule some of those things out with blood tests or, just medical history, then we can get down to, you know, really pinpointing it to a menopause symptom versus something else.
Okay.
That
That-
yeah, so the medical process, and that's what I love about what I do is I team up with, people's doctors on occasion to say, what are you seeing versus what am I seeing? And, because by sharing information from the medical and the mental health side, we can definitely narrow things down and say, okay, this is a medical issue or this is a mental health issue. For example, my actual mental health niche is stress management, and I have medical doctors referring lots of people to me for stress because they have run all the blood tests. They, seen this person multiple times for different things, hair loss, loss, weight gain, you name it, because stress also attacks us physically, and people don't think about that. And so once all of the medical testing is done and there's no medical diagnosis that can be made, then that's when the medical professional refers them to me. It's like, hey, this is a stress related, you know, condition that you're experiencing. I'm going to need you to go see Dr. Grayson. And so that's what I mean by working together with the medical professionals so that we rule out any other medical things that could be going on and get down to, okay, this is a mental health concern where I really think it's time to go and talk to somebody.
That's really good and so important that we get the full picture.
Right.
So I love that what you said because you're saying, hey, it's not we're collectively we're looking at
Yes.
whole story here before we, give a diagnosis or make a decision. And a lot of times that's not being done. So thank you for
Mm-mm.
that. Number one, thank you for that.
I tell people all the time, advocate. You are paying good money for either to your insurance company or to your doctor directly. You know, when you think about your overall health, think about your health team. So that includes your medical doctor, your therapist, your eye doctor, your specialist, your dentist. Like that is your medical health team.
That's right.
So yeah, you want everybody to work together in conjunction in case something is going on. Everybody can talk to everybody else and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Are you seeing the same thing? Or is there something that you're seeing that I need to be aware of? So when, this person has their appointment, then I can make sure that I follow up and ask about that.
That's huge. And I really don't think that enough of that is being done in our community for
It's
sure.
not.
It
It's
definitely
so not.
it's crazy because most of the time you go see whatever doctor it is, and it's like that's it. You see this
Hmm.
doctor for that. You might see you like you said, you have your different doctors for different
Hmm.
things, but it's rare that you bring them together.
Right.
So and we need to do that to get the full picture, to get the full story so that we can be treated accordingly. It's so important. And
Hmm.
talking, oh my goodness, and just talking and having these conversations. You touched on that
Right.
earlier too, the importance of us feeling like it's okay to talk and speak about these things because menopause is not just going to skip over, a
No.
woman. Like it's not, you're not, although some women think that, oh no, I didn't have it or I don't have it, and they're very well into it. But
Right.
this is going to touch each and every one of us,
Hmm.
as a woman. So it's important that we understand we have to advocate for ourselves.
Yes.
We have to have these healthy conversations and understand what is happening with us because it's easy to get wrapped up in just how we're feeling. Menopause can come and like really wreck your world if
Oh yeah.
just sit back and just take everything that she's she be
Right. Right.
she be bringing the
Listen,
punches.
she does not come to play, okay?
That's what I'm saying. So it's you can sit back and take it all, but I think that we have to stand up and we have to understand what's really happening with us. Pay attention to how we're changing and
Mhm.
learn, learn
Yes.
our new bodies, that this whole new way of thinking, the mind, what we're experiencing, the woman that we're becoming. Um,
Mhm.
in this best half of our lives. Like we really
Yes.
have to do that work to speak up, talk, learn, and embrace each other through this process.
Ask
So
questions. I tell women all the time, ask the women in your family questions about their experience, whether they believe it was menopause or not. Like what as I don't say like go ask your mom about menopause. That's not the question. The question is when you turn 50, because that's kind of like the in-between piece
mhm.
of, usually perimenopause may start around 45 or so. But when you turn 50, that's when the noticeable symptoms kind of kick in. So I say, well, ask the women in your family, when you turned 50, what did you notice that was different about you, your body, how you thought about things? Um, you know, were you more emotional? Like ask questions so you can kind of get some of the family history of what happened with the women in your family because they're not talking about it either. They're like, oh, yeah, that was,
Yeah. Or they'll
like
say
just
something.
something that
I was hot, or I had some
right,
flashes, or eh, just
right.
get over it. And then so I went to the woman in my family and they didn't want to talk about it at all. Like
Yeah.
it was like pulling teeth
Hmm.
trying to get answers. And I'm like, listen, ladies, I know y'all didn't know I went through this. Like, just cut it out. Let's talk about this. but
Yeah,
they really
seriously.
don't they don't wanna talk about it. What do you do
Yeah.
in the instance when you're going, right? Because it's it's uber important that
Mhm.
we get this information from the woman in our family because more than likely we're going to mimic them in some way
Right.
or another, right?
Right.
But what happens when you go to them and you can't get, answers from them?
Yeah, that's why, I wouldn't recommend just coming straight out with it. Like, what was your menopause experience like? Because then they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. But if you say, did you notice that you were feeling a little bit more sad? Did you miss having your period? Like, ask those types of questions.
So
Did
kind of
you
getting specific with the
Oh
questions.
yeah, get specific. Like, did you feel like you didn't want to be bothered anymore? Like you just wanted to stay home and watch TV. You don't want to hang out with your girlfriends. Like like those types of questions because those are easier to answer.
And you know what? And quite honestly, it opts for more of a conversation,
Hmm.
and I love that because I can kind of see like when I think we're different in our generation where you can pretty much come up to us and ask us and we're going to just
Right.
get going to give it to you. You're going to get it. You
Right.
probably get more than what you wanted, right?
Exactly.
More than likely. But for them, it probably takes off that where they have to be defensive or, you know, revisiting something that they're uncomfortable with because
Hmm.
the women before us they handle things differently. I
They
mean, it's
did.
definitely a lot of truth to that. They didn't have a lot of the freedoms and things that we had, now, and a lot of things got passed down, to them as
Yeah.
well. So I like that approach of being able to go with specific conversations because, it leans into a better conversation. So that's
Hmm.
sweet. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
So even asking about forgetfulness, like, did you find that you forgot things more frequently? Like, you might have had a favorite recipe and then all of a sudden you couldn't remember the ingredients, supposedly if you didn't write it down. So asking those types of questions, like you said, are more conversational. It's a softer blow than
Yeah.
coming straight
That-
out with. And like you said, in our generation, we're like, get to it. Like, what do you want to know? What's the question? I can tell you. You
Yes.
know.
Yes. So I know the brain fog is just a small little snippet on
Hmm.
the impacts of um menopause and our mental health. Um, can you just speak to, again, I know that you see a lot of women.
Yeah,
Do you see a lot more now in menopause? Do you
I
feel
do. Hmm.
do
I
you think
do.
it's more of a connection because maybe they are like, okay, well, she's in menopause too, so she can understand me more, do you think is more of that, or is it something else, that's is it just they're Googling you and saying, "Hey, I gotta
Yeah.
get on somebody's couch today."
Yeah, a lot of women have been with me for a long time, so we've just kind of grown into it together. Like,
Oh, beautiful.
so we've had the experience together, and so it's easier to talk about because we've already, had tons of conversations about other life-changing experiences and transitions. And like even with new women, they don't have the words for it yet. They're just tearful and crying.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, I had one lady, she was so hurt by the experience of the onset of menopause for her because she doesn't have any children. So for her, it was like a major change of life, and she felt like it was like an attack on her feminism and her duties and responsibilities as a woman. And now that was taken away because of menopause.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. And
Hmm.
that just really speaks to the broad spectrum of
Yeah.
menopause and how we're affected, how we can be affected by it.
Hmm.
Because if you're not sitting in that seat, then you couldn't even understand how she's, feeling,
Exactly.
you know. Wow, that's heavy. And
Mhm.
feeling like because it's such a it's like a death. And I've said that before,
Yeah,
like you're going through a grieving
absolutely.
process in menopause. There's loss that's taking place there. And we have to understand that that's a part of it and understand how to deal with that and how to get to the other side of that. So what are
Mhm.
some things that we can do, for the woman that are, because I know she's definitely not the only one that's experiencing something like that, to kind of help with those things mentally.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, like I said, we feel things in our body way before it gets translated into any type of sensible story in our mind. And so we really just explore the changing body. Like, take some time to look at how your body is changing and embrace and thank your body for where she is right now.
Okay.
Thank her for where she was and all the years that, she sustained you up until this point. And, really like thank her. So now you have the wiggly arms, thank her for that,
Yeah.
right? And so just look at, the different ways that the body is changing and give us some love because when we feed those messages to our body, then our body rebels and it's harder and it makes the experience prolonged because now we're harboring that particular um, grief in our body somewhere. And I tell people, don't rush the process because when you rush it, you're going to miss parts of the journey that's meant to teach you something. So then you're missing some of the lessons that you're meant to learn, and you're prolonging the process instead of just allowing the emotions to come up, allowing the emotions to express themselves however they want to, and being okay. And then, journaling about that experience or dancing about that
Yeah.
experience. and,
Yeah.
and just, giving it some space and then moving on. Because when we allow our body to express itself and our emotions to express themselves in the way that they need to, then we move through the process with grace and ease versus the grief and struggle of trying to clamor and hold on and hang on to what was, which is part of grief. We want to hold on to what was versus what is, and so bridging that transition of we can always honor what was because
Yeah.
she served you well, right? Because you're still here. And,
Yeah.
and we can also celebrate and honor what is. Like, who are you now? You get to decide. Like, they get
Yeah.
excited. Like,
Oh my,
women get excited. I'm like, girl, you get to decide. Like,
yes. Yes.
how you want to show up now, right?
Yes. Any
So,
way you want to.
yes, yes, yes,
That's good. That's really good. That's one of the greatest things that I am embracing on this journey. Like, ladies, this is your
yes.
story. It
Mm-hmm.
is your story. The pen is in our hand, and we
Yes,
have the paper, and the pages belong to us, and we get to write it. We
absolutely.
it's whatever we want it to be. I am so standing in that these days. It's like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I am. Yeah, so that's really good. Yes, we have to embrace who she is, who she's becoming,
Hmm.
and just loving on, the new us.
Yes.
Because yeah. I can't wait to get to the other side, like going through this journey. Like I look at menopause, yes, it's not all good, but it's definitely not all bad.
Right,
There's some
right.
there's some great things to embrace on this journey. Yeah,
Hmm.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. And I just got a couple more things and then we going.
Hmm.
But for the brain fog, are there certain exercises or any things that women can do to kind of like, help? We talked about writing things down and,
Hmm.
finding order and, keeping all our notes in places to help us. I I'm, I'm laughing at myself because I used to be sticky notes. I used to I just woke up one day and was like, "Girl, cut the shit, okay? No more sticky notes.
Right.
This is
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Like, it's over." Because I was walking in my office and I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, I literally had sticky notes, like, all over the place.
Mhm.
But it was the thing, it was how I was able to just get it out so I didn't forget
Yeah.
and just have it in front of my face. But
Mhm.
but if I was home and the sticky note was at the
Right,
office,
it's not
it was
help
a
you
wrap.
anyway. Right,
It was a
right,
wrap.
right.
But I was doing it for so long and I didn't realize that I fell into that habit. So
Mhm.
I had to kind of just, and I'm the type of personality where I just cut stuff. Like I make a decision to say,
Yeah.
okay, that you're done today. And
Okay.
after how long I've been doing it or what, I can just cut it and it's over for me. Like it never happened. So I cut the sticky notes.
Okay.
But and I don't know, are you, because I have to ask, are you allowed to discuss supplements at all?
Um, like I said, I can't prescribe anything. I can recommend.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know we gotta be,
Right. Gotta be correct with
gotta
it,
be
right? I don't want
correct.
somebody saying, "Well, Dr. Angela
Nope.
said, no, she did not." Girl,
I know I did not. And neither can I. Let's be clear. I am not
Right.
prescribing anything.
Exactly.
So for brain fog, um, I will say one of the supplements that I learned about was lion's mane.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Are you familiar with
I am.
lion's mane? Okay. Um, but with supplements, we know we have to be really consistent and things like that
Right.
because it's not medicine. But is there anything that you could recommend or talk about that could help a woman with brain fog?
The thing about supplements is that they may and may not work, right? Because the supplements actually mesh with your body chemistry. And so what may work for somebody may not work for somebody else. And so that's why I'm careful about getting into, recommending supplements because it's like, you know, oh yeah, we could talk about lion's mane. It has some really good qualities, really good properties. I can talk about juicing, right? And using really staying away from processed foods. Like I say that all the time because
Yeah,
that does not help your situation. If
yeah,
you can, juice more or eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, that absolutely helps. If we're talking, vitamins, nutrients, and supplements, different things like that. Um, One of the biggest things that people who can also do is do puzzles, like sharpen your brain skills. So if you are a puzzle person, um, that is a great way to help combat brain fog.
keep
Right?
that, keep those
Yeah,
wills.
because you want to
Yes,
keep your brain energized, and
yes,
so puzzles is a great way to do it because now you're having to use your critical thinking to
yes,
figure things out. So in terms
yes.
of people who don't want to lean on supplements, because if you're having brain fog episodes, you might forget to take your supplements.
That's
That's
exactly
not helping you
that's
anyway.
exactly so
So
that's real talk right there
that's
because
not even gonna help you.
that is so that is so right. And it's so, I'm gonna tell you what's even funnier. So I have these little mind games on my phone.
Mhm.
But I forgot that I had them on there until you just said puzzles. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got those on my phone.
And they have so many different ones, like, you know, whether you're a word search person or an actual, puzzle, like they have so many apps now that are very, very good for keeping your brain sharp and leaning into those critical thinking skills because that keeps your brain sharp and because you're always having to problem solve, which is basically what puzzles are. Puzzles are about problem solving.
Yeah.
And so if you're keeping your brain in problem solving mode, then it helps you kind of remember, okay, yeah, this thinking of things in terms of solving a problem. And like you said, if you go into a room and you forgot while you're there, then you problem solve. Okay, I was sitting on the couch, I was talking about this thing, and so like you're solving, like literally solving the problem, or putting a puzzle together. Yeah, I was thinking about, yeah, I want a cup of tea, and then I got distracted by, a commercial or something on TV, and I forgot about the tea. And so you can kind of trace it back. Like,
Like,
oh yeah, I wanted a cup of tea.
yep, that's exactly, and that I'm telling you, that is how whenever I forget anything, I have to, it's like I gotta relive the whole story all over again. It's like
Hmm.
press rewind and start from right here.
Right, right.
Go.
Like, what was I doing right before that?
Exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh, this has been so amazing. And I'm excited to share with the Pretty Moody community that this is going to be an ongoing thing. So you're going to get blessed with Dr.
Yeah,
Grayson on a regular basis. So I'm excited about that. And
yeah.
how can we learn more about um, the movement therapy that you do? And also, we're going to talk a little bit, real quick, briefly about the
Mhm.
retreat that you do, and then we're going to really unpack that on another episode because that's huge. The girlfriends, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about my practice, you can either Google my name, Angela M. Grayson, or Good Fruit Expressive Arts.com, and that'll take you to my page, and it tells you all about the work that I do. I do dance movement therapy, and I also implement some art therapy and music therapy, and also some journal therapy. So, which helps, all of those things help to tell your story. And like I said, we really are expressive people, but we're not tapping into that from a therapeutic standpoint. But it's absolutely therapeutic to use the arts to really kind of get to the essence of what's happening with us. So you can learn all about that if you just Google Angela M. Grayson or goodfruitexpressivearts.com.
Thank you so much for that. And until next time, stay pretties out there on your menopause journey, ladies. And Dr. Grayson, can you leave the Pretty Moody community with just some words of wisdom?
Absolutely. Ladies, give yourself some grace, right? You don't have to be superwoman. Let your cape rest.
Oh, I
Let your
like
cape
that.
rest, okay? We're talking brain fog today, and part of brain fog and combating that is getting the proper rest. So that means taking the cape off. I know it's hard, but you can do it. We believe in you.
Yes, we do. That was great. That was so good. Thank you so much, Dr. Grayson. And we will see you next week on Pretty Moody Mondays. Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Oh, my little thing just acting all crazy today. Here we go. Right here, lady.